Welcome to Remember Your Source. I'm your host, Julie Delene, and I'm very happy to introduce you to my guest, Anne O'Connor from Viroqua, Wisconsin, who worked at Organic Valley, but we go back a number of years in our creations together, and I'm excited to have you on the show.
Thanks, Julie.
Anne, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Anne O'Connor. I am the founder, the facilitator, and the coach behind Metamorphix, which is a set of online courses, live courses, one-on-one coaching that helps women, develop their courage, their confidence, and really their connection so that they can pursue their dreams with passion and change the world, because that's what we need doing.
That's right. The wise women are transforming the world.
Yeah.
So this is great to have you on the show. And I like to start the show every time with just a moment of pause, a peace pause, a moment to settle into our bodies, to breathe, take a moment of breath, and feel grateful. I am grateful. I'm grateful for you, Anne. I'm grateful for the listeners out there. I'm grateful for this moment. And breathe that in. So we open ourselves completely to listen into this moment and to emerge the wisdom between us and the wisdom around us. So then how do you remember Source in the midst of all this change and chaos and in our current times?
Yeah. Well, I think, you mentioned the context, and of course, that's always the challenge, right? If we have everything we need, we're well rested, we're not hungry, we're not cranky, it's, generally a lot easier to access Source and to come from a place of integrity, no matter what the challenge is that we're facing. And when things become more difficult, that's when we start to fall out, right? So for me, I know that if I don't get enough sleep, or, honestly, if I eat a lot of sugar, that's going to make me cranky. It's going to make me short-tempered, and I'm going to have to work harder to stay in my own integrity and to coach myself like, hey, Anne, you know what? You're getting cranky at your kids. It's really not them. It's really me. So I think, for me, remembering that just always comes back to staying in the game of learning, to staying in the learning. I just always keep showing up with the learning and then practicing that learning. If it's not enough to know something, we really have to practice it and develop that in our bodies, in our minds. And when we can get it into our communities, when people expect us to behave well because that's what we have grown with them. That is also another way that we reinforce the true integrity of who we are, and we can remember Source a lot better that way. And then there's just, there's so many ways, Julie, right? You know this. Go outside. I mean, it's right today. I'm looking out the window at a beautiful fall day. It is one of the fastest ways to get me out of my head, really into what's real and what's true, and give me that perspective that I need to shift what might be going on so that I can remember to stay true. The name of my business is Metamorphix. I like rock. And the change that takes place when we have pressure, or when we have, something happen. As, one of the things that's super interesting is the way that you feel about it is kind of supported by science. And that's what I love right now about what the times that we're living in. The things that we understand about what is good for the whole, what is good for us. You might intuitively understand that and see that in your practices, but it's being supported now by science too.
I know. So I'm going to ask, so pick a game card from the first phase, the map phase, and the card that I got is about who you are and how you arrived to this point, your presence. And so this is a really fun one. Identify a piece of clothing you own, actually that you do not like, and describe its qualities.
That is such a great question. 3 years ago, my house had a fire and we lost my whole house and all our belongings. So it's fascinating. Clothes for me have been really interesting to replace an entire wardrobe and think about like, what fits and what doesn't. And so I was given, and I'm so grateful, so it's hard to answer this question because so many people gave me clothes and I'm like super grateful for that. But I remember like going to work with pants that I thought fit and then they were like falling down like halfway through the day. And these are all they're all logistics, but as you know, they do play in. So it's been hanging in my closet for 3 years. And it's like this brown, tanny kind of color. It's got ridges on it, and it's a cardigan. And I've never worn it one time. And I try it on occasionally, and I'm like, I really should ask this person if they want this back because I don't want it. And
well, the part about it is just to say, what are the qualities so that you can equate that to something about it's in your ecosystem. What are the qualities, and how does that reflect part of who you are?
Yeah, I think that, it's funny that I picked that because brown is a color that is all around us all the time, especially now in the fall in Wisconsin. It's huge. And I just had a friend who, on his podcast, he just did this very poetic piece about the browns of fall in Wisconsin. And I listened to it and I was just laughing like, okay. Let me just accept this brown thing going on and make a place for it. I guess that's really it. I'm still not going to wear the jacket though.
The qualities of this cardigan, how would you describe it?
Yeah, definitely for me, that brings up the fears of like being forgettable and being right, not being that interesting, being pass over. You can pass me over without even noticing. Blending in, not standing out. Those are the things definitely would be my fears.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it's about. Good job, is translating that into what are the unconscious thoughts that we have about ourselves. And so you made that leap really quickly. Then we go to this open phase of how do we open ourselves up and expand our hearts and our minds and our bodies and our wisdom. And so that open phase, this open card that I got, is simply to state out loud that 3 times I say on this card, I am powerful, I am creative, and I am the source of my happiness.
Nice. I am powerful, I am creative, and I am the source of my happiness. I am powerful, I am creative, and I am the source of my happiness. I'm powerful, I'm creative, and I am the source of my happiness. Nice!
Yeah, and the question, how does it make you feel? What are the results?
Yeah, I mean, that is, I like that. I think that feels great. I feel powerful, I feel creative. It's the last part, that I'm the source of my happiness. That took me so long to figure that out. So it's good to say it out loud. It's great to feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Definitely, it's a matter of, it's the words we say to ourselves can so impact the energetics of who we are, the emotions, our creative mind, all that.
Oh my gosh. And then you start going on to like, who can I blame for my unhappiness?
Always.
Right?
I mean, that's what we're always trying to fight, is that wish that the outside world was to blame for the way we are. And we lose. It's not to say that it isn't very, very difficult, because it is.
Sure.
But to be able to put the power back into ourselves, that's
yeah. I think it is challenging. You never want to underestimate the challenge, and certainly some people have more challenge than others, and those things are really true. And also, it's really true that women hold enormous power and strength, and we just have to recognize that and get comfortable around it.
Absolutely. This next card is then what's emerging. And so this one, again, it's so interesting. Your environment's being called in a lot for these cards, but look around the room and find something that draws your attention and feels pleasant, feels good.
Well, I'm looking at my desk, and I keep these things on my desk for this very reason, because they feel good and they are happy making for me, right? Like, so this is blue calcite. And, you know, if I think about representing my vision,
Yeah.
you know, I've got these two stones, right? So this one I really love the most. I'm going to pick this one instead, because this is, I don't know what this is. But what I know is, you look at it, it's craggy, rocky outside, and it's kind of brown and white and kind of interesting. But if you open it up and you look at the inside, it's this glowing, beautiful blue, I don't know what kind of stone it is. This one is calcite, and it's smooth, and it's been polished entirely. This one is polished partially, right? So what's emerging for me from this? Part of my work is always to remember that the polish is only part of it, you know, and no matter what you have going on, there's always going to be challenge and rocky crags. And there is always that polished part that we happen to like better, right? Like, we like to show people this part the most. But actually, it's this part that's going to help us get here more and more. And so, you know, for me, I feel, I guess, like both of these things are so important. And it can be hard for me to be vulnerable. It can be hard for me to show my rocky, craggy parts. I like the shiny parts.
I know. And it's easy to show that part just for a little while, and then to go back into our little corners and do what we want.
Yeah. This is fun.
Yeah, I know. Great. I'm glad you experienced it. It's really fun, and there's many more questions to do. But what did you get from this experience at this point?
Well, you know, it's kind of I guess the other part of it for me is, I've been thinking about, you know, what do I want to do in this life? I turned 50 earlier this year, you know, and I've had a real advantage in my life, many, many advantages. And I've had a lot of time to delve into who I am and why I do things. And I feel very fortunate that I have had those experiences and have been able to, you know, do a lot of work in getting over myself to some degree, right? Which can be lifelong work, honestly, for me, certainly. And so I am, you know, now at this point in my life, I'm pretty committed to, like, not spending, you know, spending an equal amount of energy and time and giving that to other people and helping people with their own getting over themselves, so that we can rise together, you know, honestly, so that we can create the communities that we need to create, that we want to live in, and we can have the kinds of you know, experiences and families and workplaces and schools that we really want to create together. And I think women do lead the way, Julie, you know this, and I think that my work is all about making sure that people have what they need if they're ready to go for it, so that we can bring that to the next level of contribution to our communities.
Well said. And so that is your vision moving forward. So it did stimulate that idea. So I love it.
Yeah, nice.
Great to be with you.
Great. Thanks for having me, Julie. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate the work you're doing.
Yeah, excellent. Good to be with you.